The proclaimed crossroads of the Texas Hill Country, Johnson City is and has always been rural living. The town itself is small, yet it boasts some of the biggest history in all of Texas, as it was these few city blocks that raised up a man who would become the leader of the free world. Lyndon B Johnson. Born in 1908, LBJ became the 36th President of the United States. From civil rights to education, poverty, and even public broadcasting, President Johnson marched our country toward what he called the Great Society, with his final and most controversial challenge being the Vietnam War. Using his impending 6'4" stature and trademark Johnson treatment, the president was able to accomplish his agenda in Washington and all across the world. He was a great president in a challenging time, and today Johnson City remains the best place to get an in-depth and personal look at LBJ. We're starting at Johnson's boyhood home and a chat with National Historic Park Ranger David Graveline.
Right, welcome to LBJ's boyhood home.
Well, thank you very much.
Lyndon Johnson lived here for about 20 years of his life. The family moved here into town around 1912. It has been restored to the 1920s by the National Park Service. Right here on this front porch is where he first announced his candidacy for the U.S. House of Representatives.
Wow, so this sort of is sacred LBJ ground, right?
It is, yeah. Well, this is the foyer of the house, but it also doubled as Lyndon Johnson's father's office. He was quite the businessman. He had a lot of different careers. He was a self-taught lawyer, real estate agent. Sam Johnson's real claim to fame was being in the Texas House of Representatives. But he was a real populist Democrat. He was really responsible for teaching Lyndon Johnson his core democratic beliefs that really followed him throughout his career and really shaped him.
Johnson's mother, Rebecca, was also a great influence, teaching class here in the parlor and instilling in her children a deep appreciation for education.
When the president's father came back from Austin when the legislature was out, so he would have the kids listen to the radio after dinner. Sam would pick two of them and have them either debate what was discussed in the news programs or something else like what's a better sweetener, sorghum or sugar, that sort of thing. And,
so LBJ cut his public speaking chops, I guess, like right here in front of the fireplace?
Out here on the fireplace and even out on the front porch there when his mother was teaching lessons out there.
From a young age, LBJ showed great interest in politics, often going on the campaign trail with his dad and even sneaking under the floorboards of the house to eavesdrop on his father's political discussions. But aside from his early political interest, Johnson was still just a normal kid.
He'd go fishing with friends, have picnics by the river, swimming. Was thought to be the local marble champion. He played baseball for Johnson City High School, where he was known as First Base Johnson.
Oh, wow.
So he was just a normal kid.
Yeah. Became something much greater.
He did,
started just like everyone else. The stories and aura of President Johnson hang on the walls of this old house, and it was from these humble roots that young Lyndon went on to become President Johnson. But even after he rose to power, he never forgot where he came from, and even chose to create his own presidential headquarters of sorts, just down the road in Stonewall, Texas, where I was lucky enough to get a tour with Park Superintendent Russ Whitlock. Russ, what do we have here?
Chad, I told you we was going to treat you in style, man.
No kidding.
Anybody coming to the LBJ Ranch, one of the first things President Johnson would have done would have said, come on, we got to go see the ranch. And of course, he'd have done it in a convertible Lincoln Continental. So what better way to show you the ranch?
I love it. All right, let's go. While vintage Lincolns aren't exactly part of the normal tour, visitors can take the driving tour in their own car to explore the land the Johnsons called home. Now we're crossing the Pedernales.
The Pedernales River, yes. And remember, when LBJ is on the ranch and in this area, he's doing the driving. The Secret Service is following in a chase car. Their main job, other than to protect the president, is to keep the drinks filled and open and close the gates on the ranch.
As soon as anyone stepped on the ranch, the Texas showmanship and hospitality began in full force. But it wasn't just a vacation spot, as this ranch was and still is a working cattle ranch.
Now this show barn was built in 1965.
Oh, wow.
Of course, you see the way it's designed, because while we're giving you a tour and I'm showing you my prize running Herefords, we don't want to have to get out of the car. It's designed so that the Lincoln will go right down the middle.
The land, the cows, the rugged cowboy spirit of Texas all helped Johnson shape his political image as a strong, independent, ranch-owning businessman, far removed from the high society that dominated politics.
But it was important for him for people to be able to see where he came from. When you ride around and you see it through the windshield of a car like this, you understand why they took such pride in it. They just absolutely love this place. This was always the place they wanted to come home to.
And if the president wasn't in a Lincoln, well, he had a much faster means of transportation, what he called Air Force 1/2.
And President Johnson fell in love with this plane because it could outrun Air Force One, it was more fuel efficient, and he could get in and out of a whole lot of airports that big 707 couldn't do.
And that included his own private airstrip. Even Johnson's Amphicar is here on display. But the main base of operations here was the Texas White House, where the family lived and only opened for public tours since 2007.
Welcome to the Texas White House.
Oh, wow.
This is where it all happened.
Wow.
This is where the world came to meet with the president. And although it's a nice size house, when you've got your entire cabinet or your Joint Chiefs of Staff, why not come out and sit under the big, what we call the cabinet oak? These great big lofty live oak trees out in the front yard. And this is where the business of the nation.
Wow. I could do some business under these trees, for sure.
Billy Graham said one time, you don't know LBJ until you've stood on this soil and stood under these lofty oaks.
Very different from the Oval Office. And that was exactly the point. A place where Johnson could relax with you on his turf.
Chet, come on in. Let me show you probably one of the most important rooms in the Texas White House. This is where Senate Majority Leader Johnson, where Vice President Johnson, and then of course President Johnson ran the nation. And the beauty of this room is that you see it as any visitor to the president would have seen it in the 1960s. And the room's filled with incredible places. The desk here was a gift of the Senate to the Vice President Johnson. Him and her, the famous beagles that they had in the White House.
Well, this really feels like you're stepping back into a historic photo. You know, you can see him sitting at that desk, you know,
shouting
calling
out
orders. Exactly.
Right.
And the photo of him on the wall, taller than everyone. It's like I'm getting the Johnson treatment just standing, you know, beneath that photo. Naugahyde chairs, his famous Johnson pillow, and a telephone, a tool found in every room of this house.
But imagine being a world leader from the palace of Europe, you know, used to having your office and your meetings and all there.
Right.
And you walk in here. But it was comfortable, and they instantly were at ease.
Yeah.
Because there's just nothing showy about it, but I think that's so representative of those people too.
I love the fact that you look at these photos. I mean, these people are sitting right here on these cushions, in these chairs, and these are not just anyone, these are significant people, world leaders. But even world leaders get hungry, so the dining room and kitchen were ready to feed as many as were invited. And as we cross through the den, we enter the private side of the Texas White House.
The President and Mrs. Johnson added master bedroom suites on the end. Of course, he brought with him the 3 televisions. So he was maintaining in Washington and here 16-hour days. Usually, probably without any problem at all. So that massage table was really important for a man who's under that kind of stress and that kind of daily schedule. And true to form throughout the house, even from the side of the bed, is a telephone.
And all he had to do was pick it up and someone said, "Yes, Mr. President."
That's right.
Even from his toilet. And just across the hall is the private suite of someone who was just as important to the LBJ presidency as LBJ himself, Lady Bird Johnson.
And she was surrounded by things of her life. But then again, a place to run her agenda too. Beautification, urban renewal,
That's true as well.
Outdoor education. Her own legacy is very important.
It was here at the ranch where LBJ died just 4 years after the end of his presidency, and where Lady Bird lived from time to time until her passing in 2007. It's a wonderful, lasting tribute to the Johnson legacy, a place from which the Johnsons brought Texas to the world, all while letting the world visit Texas. Howdy, y'all. Thanks for sticking around and tripping Texas with us. Have you ever been to this spot? Leave us a comment down below and let us know. Or leave us a comment about a place that we've missed. And if you liked this video, chances are you're gonna love another video that's somewhere right about here. Or you can visit thedaytripper.com, where we have all kinds of travel guides, t-shirts, and all kinds of Texas goods that we've found during our travels all across the great state of Texas. But above all, what I want you to do most, remember the Alamo. I'll see all y'all out on the road. Vaya con Dios, amigos.